Hi everybody! Hello from the frozen tundra of death. It's freezing. I don't know what is going on in, well, it's not just New York, but like the whole East Coast has been freezing. We're under electric blanket again. I realized it's January and it's to be expected, but it wasn't this cold last January. No. So it's been chilly, which has made like going to the gym a bit of a challenge because I don't want to leave the apartment. I don't want to leave because it is just that cold. Speaking of the gym, we wanted to do just a little like health and wellness update for you guys on kind of where we are at health wise and kind of what we're starting 2018 doing. I'll go first real quick. So if you guys didn't know, I had surgery last year to remove a pituitary tumor and
aka a brain tumor.
A brain tumor, basically.
We can laugh about it now. It's not funny, but it's just our little running joke.
Yeah. I'm doing great. I don't think I've done any updates on YouTube. I know I have on our Instagram stories. So make sure you're following us on Instagram if you're not already, because I do tons of updates. We both do tons of updates on that, way more frequently than we do on YouTube. But doing well. Basically, the pathology came back on my tumor after my surgery, and it was benign, which we knew it was going to be benign. That wasn't ever a concern. But the kind of tumor I have, it does have a high likelihood to regrow. So it would just kind of be like the same thing as before, symptom-wise, migraines, blurry vision. So those are things to look out for, but in order to stop me from getting to that point where I would need surgery again, because it is a slow growing tumor, they do want to do like MRIs pretty frequently just to check. So I've already had my first follow-up post-op MRI. I actually haven't got the results of that back yet. That just reminded me, but it's been the holidays. I did it just before the holidays, so I don't even know if my doctor's working. So once I get the results of that, I think we'll kind of know, number one, how, just to confirm that it was all gone.
Yeah, he thought he took it all out
from surgery, but then also it has anything regrown or like what's still kind of there. So they're just gonna keep a close eye on that. So that's kind of where I am health-wise. The other kind of symptom of that I never really talked about was that one of my symptoms for having the tumor was a like very slow and gradual weight gain. It was something that I definitely noticed, but wasn't something I was overly concerned about because it was so slow. But despite eating like super healthy and working out, I was still slowly gaining, which I was confused about. But that wasn't alarming enough for me to go to the doctor on its own. It wasn't something I had mentioned in past doctor's appointments, but it just wasn't something that any doctor was overly concerned about. They just, said, keep exercising and eating healthy, which I was doing. So now that the tumor is gone and I don't have that to really make me keep gaining, then I'm hoping that with the start of 2018 here, now that I am a few months post-op, can really get back in the gym, really change up my diet, cut out some of the things that I was eating that was maybe the healthiest, and maybe some alcohol that I probably shouldn't be drinking. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at going into 2018. Do you want to talk a little bit about you?
Yes. So I'm going to talk about all this very lightly because we really don't have any sort of like answer or firm diagnosis or anything. So basically it all kind of started the night before my birthday, all the way back in October. I started having a lot of muscle pains, like all my limbs and my back, and it was just kind of like unexplained because it wasn't from like working out. It was like a different kind of pain, and I found myself being extremely exhausted. Like I would wake up and I was so tired, and like I could barely even like walk down the stairs. Like I was just so tired and I felt like I couldn't do it. So that's obviously very concerning. so all this kind of happened right before we went to Asheville, and that's why in that video where she was like, Shelby's in the room like napping and like she doesn't feel good, that was like, I literally couldn't like walk around, which is so frustrating, especially with, you know, what we're doing. And I was like,
want to go explore the new city, and see what's happening, and like go do fun things, and
like I felt fine in the sense where like I didn't feel like sick, like it was like the flu or like a cold and like mono, like something like that. Like it wasn't like that. It was just like this muscle pain that would move. Like it was the strangest thing. This is what was so
weird about this.
It would like be like in my arm for like 5 minutes, and then it would move to like my right leg, and then it would move to my back. Like, and when one stopped, the next one started. Like so bizarre. So that's why we couldn't quite figure out like what it was. So I went to the doctor, and so they did like the blood work, and they did something called an ANA test, which is an anti-nuclear antibody test. So with the blood work, I had a couple like vitamin deficiencies. And that partly probably with this diagnosis, but also part of them with our diet. So we're addressing kind of two things at once here. The other one, so my ANA test came back positive, which usually means you have some sort of autoimmune disease. It still could possibly not be, but most likely it is one. We just honestly don't know which one yet, because then she ordered a second round of tests that goes even deeper into some like specific antibody tests, and they all came back negative.
So she tested positive for an autoimmune disease, but when tested for those individual autoimmune diseases, she tested negative for all of them.
Yeah.
So we're like, so what does that mean?
Right. So it could be a multitude of things, and actually when I started, my doctor had me start taking a multivitamin and some other supplements. The second I started taking those, all my muscle pain went away. So that's where I'm not sure where we're at, because she referred me to a rheumatologist, which is someone who deals mostly with something sort of as lupus or arthritis. But I don't really have any of those symptoms anymore, but I'm still going to this appointment. She couldn't see me until the end of January, so I still have time even before I can do that. But I still want to go to her because she's a specialist and just rule that out, or if she has something different, you know, she's probably seen so many of these cases, so she might know something. But it could be something else, such as like Hashimoto's, which is like with your thyroid, any sort of gastro ones like IBS. I don't think it's celiac because I never had a big reaction to gluten like that. I mean, there's so many like autoimmune diseases, so it just depends. But after Thanksgiving, because I saw her like right before Thanksgiving, and all of those kind of like muscly symptoms had gone away. And then after we got back into town from Thanksgiving, I started having a ton of abdominal pain. It was like a burning like pain that felt like it was in my muscles, and obviously that's alarming. So I had like an abdominal ultrasound, all that came back negative, and she prescribed me a medicine for gastritis, which is like in your stomach, and I took that, and after I'd been taking it for like 2 days, all that pain went away. So I'm thinking it was probably that, hopefully. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm going to meet with the rheumatologist and see what we can go from there, and see if she refers me to somewhere else. Do all the blood work again, because all this blood work was back from November and now it's January. So I think definitely running more blood work again and seeing like where we're at. But yeah, it's all kind of weird symptoms all together that keep coming and then disappearing, and like all of my fatigue and like muscle pain and the little bit of joint pain that I had is all gone. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's been kind of strange, but through this, even though she doesn't 100% have her diagnosis, we're both this way. As soon as we hear something, we jump on the computer and we start researching. I'm sure everybody does that. Now, Shelby probably does it a little too much. Yeah. I've had to get on her about getting off of WebMD, because
there was like a week where there
was one night she was convinced she was having a heart attack, and I was like, I'm not going to the hospital with you. If you would like to go, you go. You're fine. Like, you're not having a heart attack. You're 25 years old. Anyways, so with that, we've done a lot of research. So even though she doesn't have a firm diagnosis on anything, just with kind of how she's feeling and kind of the direction that she thinks she's probably going to be going with this, and then with just me and my health issues that I've had the past year and I'm trying to get past, we've kind of decided to do something holistic rather than go down the medicine route more with her, because there's medicine that you can take.
Although, yeah, depending on what it is, although I do respect the fact that if there is something that can only be cured with medicine and like it has to, you have to do that, I totally am up for that, like especially like if it's anything with my thyroid, like you have to take like hormone pills to go along with that. But some of the medicines for like some of the rheumatoid ones like lupus, they give you steroids. It's not really something I want to be on. And let me just go back for a second. The pain that I was having was never like debilitating.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a high pain tolerance. It was just annoying, and it was more the fatigue that was bothering me more than the pain. Like my pain was like maybe like a 3 or a 4. Like it was not like bad. And through all my research, what I can find is that if you have some of these, like you can't move, like you're in so much pain, and it was never like that at all. So that's why I'm not sure like where we're at.
But regardless, this just kind of got us looking at our diet and wellness overall. There was a lot of research done. There's a lot of research available on how eating a certain diet can cure your autoimmune diseases.
Because autoimmune diseases are not curable.
Right.
It's just a chronic illness that you will always have.
Remission, but by changing your diet, you can get off of medicine, depending on your autoimmune disease. Get off of medicine, and your diet can make you go into remission. And so, in looking at the research behind that,
we use diet not like a fad, like diet, like just the lifestyle, the way that you're eating. It's not a diet.
Your lifestyle, how what you choose to put in your body. And we have both been vegetarian.
Mostly.
Me strictly.
I'm a flexitarian.
Yeah, she dabbles with chicken here and there. But I've been a vegetarian for about 10 years now, somewhere in there, pretty strict. And so I think there are definitely some things with my research that I probably am lacking vitamin-wise. And you did a lot of research on how changing your diet, changing your lifestyle can help with kind of this chronic illness. And we stumbled upon this thing called leaky gut. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I will always, like, when I find out like a disease or something that's wrong with you, I'll always search like natural way of healing it, or like holistic way. Like I'll always Google that. And at first, when we first started talking about this autoimmune stuff, I didn't find anything like this, and so that started to stress me out a lot more. And then, you know, you just go down the line. But then I stumbled across this thing called leaky gut syndrome, and I was like, well, what the heck is that? And it was correlating with autoimmune. So basically, almost all functional medicine doctors believe that having a leaky gut contributes to almost any kind of disease, anything down to just a cold or your allergies, that this can be caused by that. So basically, if I'm understanding all my research correctly, your gut is like a 1 cell thick like layer, and they describe it as like kids playing Red Rover. You know that game where like you do this and like the other kid like runs through and tries to break you apart? Like that's how easy it is to break apart the lining in your gut. And so alcohol, sugar, gluten, lots of grains, like anything like that can just break that open. And if your whole life you've been eating that, you just have this leaky gut, and all this stuff's going into your bloodstream and the rest of your body. You're not taking in the nutrients, and they're also not leaving. They're just like in you, which sounds so
It sounds really weird. When she first started telling me this, I'm like, what? But when I started researching, we went to Barnes & Noble one afternoon.
It's like this whole huge thing that I had no idea
about.
We
had like a stack of
like 50 books.
Like this high. Sorry, you can't see my bottom here. All on this topic that we just sat there and we looked, and some of the information is contradictory as to like what you can eat and what you can't eat. But for the most part, it essentially makes you have a paleo diet, which is basically meat for your protein and vegetables and some fruit. No grains at all, no legumes, no sugar, well, no non-natural sugar.
Yeah.
So like,
but you need to limit the fruit.
Yes. no alcohol. What else?
That's
pretty much
the big
that
stuff.
that's it.
I mean, nothing processed, nothing.
Absolutely, yeah, nothing processed.
So then,
and so by doing this, by eating that way, you can theoretically,
well, there's a couple more steps to it.
Heal your gut.
That's the first step. So basically the first step is eliminating all those foods and then adding in things like fermented foods, probiotics, glutamine and collagen that will all help, drinking bone broth,
healthy fats, so avocado, olive oil,
coconut. It's not, well, I mean, it's technically not, but that's like the one thing you can have is coconut. So you do that, and then you add in all the things in those supplements, and then you can reintroduce foods one at a time to see what is causing inflammation in you. Now, so there's this leaky gut diet, and then there's different kind of protocols for different kind of chronic illnesses that you might have. So then, furthering into my research in this, I came across something called AIP, which is called the Autoimmune Protocol, and I was like, interesting. And I came across so many like great like women who have a few chronic illnesses. Another thing that goes along with it, if you have one autoimmune disease, you most likely have multiple, is kind of how it is. But I came across all these bloggers and people who were like, I was able to like reverse my autoimmune disease, I was able to put it into remission, and I was like, what? Because like every conventional doctor will tell you there's no cure and you just have to be on these like immunosuppressants and steroids and live your life. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, so let's try what this is. So the Autoimmune Protocol is slightly stricter than just a paleo diet. Because with paleo you can have nuts, and on ours we can't. So she decided to do it with me this month just to help heal her stuff. But
well, so basically we looked into this, and even though she doesn't have a firm diagnosis, and looking at the protocol, it's not going to hurt anything. Right. And with it being the first of the year, okay, so it could potentially really help to heal our guts. Great. New year, you know, everybody is on like the weight loss train, and while that's not why we're doing this, well, it wouldn't. I wouldn't complain.
Right.
That's not my main goal. That's not my goal. My goal is, I've always felt that I am slightly gluten sensitive. I don't think I have celiac. I don't think it's that severe, but when I do have stuff with gluten in it, my stomach does get upset. And I think that's really common though for a lot of people, especially in America, just with how our wheat is processed here. But in looking at this and deciding to make this lifestyle change, it's not going to hurt. Now, the hardest part for me specifically was the decision to add meat back into my diet, because I consciously removed it. But essentially, and trust me, I did lots of research, there's absolutely no way to heal your gut without eating meat.
Because collagen that comes from meat is like one of the biggest things that helps repair.
Which troubles me a little bit, but there was enough evidence that I found for the positive that even though there's a lot of evidence about how you shouldn't eat a lot of meat, or any meat, plant-based diets, you know, there's plenty of documentaries on Netflix that talk about how you shouldn't go near it. For this specific circumstance, it doesn't seem like there's any way around it. And I thought, I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know, we're 1 week into this. But to me, it was worth a try, because again, it's not gonna hurt anything. It could only potentially help. If it doesn't do anything, if I don't feel better, then I'll just eliminate it back out of my diet. It's also a temporary thing. Once you heal your gut,
it's a 30-day elimination protocol that you do, and then especially, it doesn't need to necessarily be as serious for her, but possibly for me. When you're adding things back in, you need to add them in one at a time to see what could possibly be inflaming things in your body, because basically with almost any autoimmune disease, your whole body's inflamed. It's just chronic inflammation, and your good cells or your body is attacking its good cells when it should only be attacking the bad. So it causes inflammation everywhere. So when you're adding things back in, you need to do it one thing at a time, and that one thing within 3 days, because I learned this, which I didn't know, it can take 3 days for inflammation or a reaction to any sort of food to even show up in your body. So you have to wait like a full 3 days and add in one thing at a time, which could take a long time. So we haven't gotten to that part yet. We're still eliminating and adding the good stuff in. But back to her whole vegetarian thing. So there's 2 really great bloggers. Well, actually there's 3 bloggers I really like. And I can't remember if all 3 of them were, but I know for sure at least 2 of them were like vegetarian and vegan at one point before they started this. So I found that very interesting, that
how maybe your diet could
theoretically
cause you to have an autoimmune disease.
Yeah. And both of them too almost had the same kind of diet I did growing up, and that they were diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. There's a lot of correlation. So this has been like a whole big like learning experience, and I'm not one to like jump on like the train, like just because one person said it, let's go do it. Like I've done so much research. I've lived and breathed this for like the past 2 months, just like researching everything and trying to get as much information as possible. Yeah. So I will link everybody below, but I found there's a couple of bloggers. There's Michelle from Unbound Wellness, Anne from Grass Fed Salsa, and then Elena from Grazed and Enthused. And Elena is actually one half of this cookbook, which we'll get to this cookbook in a second because it's the best thing on earth. And then also the Paleo Mom. She does more paleo, but then also kind of was big in this Autoimmune Protocol as well. Yeah, so I found their stuff, and there's so many great recipes that, because the first time I first looked at this, I was like, oh my god, like, you guys know I'm not a huge vegetable eater, so I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I don't eat a lot of meat. Like, I can't sit and put plain chicken and plain vegetables on my plate for the rest of my life. Like, there's no way I can do that. So it really freaked me out, but then I found all these amazing recipes.
So, paleo diet, basically, with a few different mostly no nightshades, which I didn't know what that was, but that is regular potatoes. You can have sweet potatoes, but not regular potatoes. No eggs,
no eggplant,
peppers, tomatoes. Is that it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Nothing spicy, which is sad because we love spicy food. But you can season with, like, there's a lot of seasonings that
there's a lot of herbs.
Herbs are fine.
No pepper seasonings and no seed seasonings, but all the herbs you can use.
Yeah. And then the other difference, like she said a second ago, is no nuts. So basically your only source of protein is animal protein, in whatever form you choose. And then vegetables. You can have sweet potatoes, like I said. And
you can have white sweet potatoes, which those are my favorite.
And fruit, and fermented foods. So, that being said, we were in this about a week, so we're still kind of learning how we're incorporating this. But in this book, we recipe planned for our first week solely from this book, but then there was a couple from
then she has an ebook that she just released, and a couple of the recipes are from that as well.
So mainly this, which is really good. So do you want to just like talk about one of the recipes specifically?
So the big thing for me was like completely changing everything would be a lot for me. So I wanted to incorporate like meals that we usually do eat, like tacos or like burgers, pizza. We're making a pizza tonight. You know, there's ways that you can still do all this, so you think you're still eating the way that we were. So that
was a big thing for me, is that especially this week one, like, because I didn't transition into meat slowly. I just kind of was like, well, it kind of worked out because it was like January 1st was a Monday. Like, who else loved that?
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked out to start it, and so I didn't really transition. I just kind of jumped into it, which might not have been the smartest, but that's what I did. So we made these bacon herb biscuits, if you see. So
the
you can
base
have
of them are plantains.
Yeah, it's not bread. You can have gluten, you can have regular biscuits, but you can mimic certain things that you, it doesn't taste quite the same, it's not the same texture.
No, but I still love it.
But it's the same idea, you know what I mean? So we made these biscuits with like a little sausage patty to make like a little breakfast sandwich, and that was great. Like we said, we did tacos, we did hamburgers wrapped in lettuce instead of a bun, obviously.
And I think what we
Soup
should do,
is great, especially this time of year in the freezing weather.
I think what we should do, we can talk about this a little bit, but I think we should do a separate video that's not even our what we eat in a day, like a sit down and like really talk about the foods themselves and the importance of like grass-fed, free range, you know, organic meats and like everything, because you can buy like nothing processed, like it's all has to be fresh and prepared. So I think we should do another video if you guys are interested, and like the exact food, and we can read out and maybe pull up, like maybe make like a little freebie for you guys to download that's like the exact kind of foods that you can eat on this, and the importance of some of them, especially some of the supplements and things that we're taking as well, just so this video doesn't get too long.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to show like a little peek of like, this doesn't mean that you have to eat, like you said, plain chicken and broccoli, you know.
We're making a pizza tonight, a chicken pesto pizza. Like, you know, pizza. It's my jam.
No cheese, but
it's
it's interesting. Just also just want to say a quick disclaimer. We are not in the medical field.
Oh my gosh, no.
Do not take anything that we say as law. We have done our own research. We are informed ourselves. But always talk with your doctor.
Which I will be doing.
Before making any changes. To us, this was just kind of like a no-brainer lifestyle change to try. It's like we said, it's not gonna hurt anything to do.
And also, two of those bloggers that I mentioned have a podcast together, which you've listened to some of them too, have been really enjoying and hearing their stories and how they were diagnosed and kind of what their lifestyle was before, and working through all of these issues. They're very knowledgeable. Again, they're nutrition practitioners. I don't know the exact term. They're not like MDs, but they do have a lot of knowledge. And they've worked with holistic and functional doctors as well. So yeah, I give them a listen if you're interested in this is at all. I will link everything down in the description box. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
So see, by the time this video goes up, there has been a post on the blog that we talked a little bit more detail about the 5 new things that we're doing health and wellness wise this month, so be sure you check that out. There'll be lots more content on the blog this month regarding that, so be sure to follow along there. Also follow along on our Instagram stories, as we've been kind of experimenting and making these meals. We've been sharing that over there, so if you want to see stuff in a little more real time, be sure to follow us there.
Yeah, if you have any specific questions, leave them down below, or you can email us,
DM us on Instagram.
Yeah, DM us on Instagram, anything like that. If you have any specific questions that you don't want to be public, you can always message us anywhere. We're happy to talk about it, and any questions at all, even if they're more so about like how we're starting to eat meat again and how we're like handling that, we can maybe talk about that. And like our kind of food video.
One of the challenges is, we can talk about it in a food video, but because I've been vegetarian for so long, I've never really learned how to cook meat.
I haven't either.
So that's been a fun challenge.
Yeah. Well, you haven't cooked it, I've cooked it.
I said, if I do this with you, I'm not cooking it.
Yeah.
I'll eat it, but I'm not cooking it, because that was a big reason why I became vegetarian in the first place.
Yeah, so it's been not like a complete struggle. I thought it was actually going to be way worse than it is, but we're
actually
a lot more
cooking than we're used to.
Yeah.
Breakfast is hard.
Breakfast is the hardest.
But we'll get into, we'll do what we eat in a day, so you can see, follow us in a day. We'll get into that, maybe even like how we meal plan.
Yeah.
If that would be interesting. Okay.
Sounds good.
That's the update on us. Happy New Year, guys. Hope you've been doing well. If you want to see more videos from us, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an update right there, and watch our latest video right there. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.